Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast, West Denver. Here's a quick message from our sponsor, Local Works Wheat Ridge, provided by its Executive Director, Paige Piper.
Local Works is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to make Wheat Ridge a more vibrant and sustainable place to live and work. Our mission and action is programming that provides neighborhood revitalization and small business support, keeping and growing the businesses we know and love in Wheat Ridge. In simpler form, we provide connection. Connection to business, connection to community.
This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Amber Betts.
Hey there, I am Amber Betts with the Good Neighbor Podcast, and today we're excited to be here with Flavia and Jonathan of Land Designs by Colton. Hey guys, thanks for being here today. How are you?
Hello, Amber. Nice to meet you.
Doing well. Thank you so much.
Great. So tell us about the business and what you guys do.
So we're a landscape design turnkey company. So I moved to Denver after I graduated college, moved straight to the Highlands. I was right there like 37th and Lowell.
Yeah.
Worked out of the house there for 3 years. Then essentially moved over to Wash Park for like 4 years, but came back to the Highlands just because I love the Highlands so much. I like the scale of the projects. I like the people. I like the sense of the community, things like that. I do like working in smaller spaces versus larger properties and things like that, so that it allows me the opportunity to pay attention more to smaller details and things like that that are a little more niche market kind of stuff, boutique lawns, particular flowers and plants and walls and, just everything that really creates that whole Highlands look.
Love it. So tell us a little bit about your background and history. You mentioned, kind of how you got started, but tell us a little bit more about that.
So essentially I started mowing lawns, when I was a teenager. Started my own business. Decided to go to college after I graduated high school for landscape architecture so that I could develop my company more as a profession, more of a career versus just the guy that mows lawns all the time kind of thing. And also like my interests just became more into like plant materials and things like that. So the horticulture classes, the design classes, things like that were fun and entertaining. I already come from a background of like, my mother was a gardener, grew all of our vegetables, things like that. And my father was more of an artist, designer, things like that. So really just taking the best of their knowledge and putting that together, landscape architecture just really made the most sense for me. And I always wanted to have my own business. And so here we are. I still have my own business.
Amazing. So tell us, you've kind of touched on this, but tell us why your clients choose you over competitors or kind of what sets you apart. You obviously mentioned the niche and the small projects, but tell us more.
Yeah, I would say it's more along the lines of the level of design and the materials that we use and incorporate. So that there is a bit of variety, but there's not too much variety going on to the point where it's complicated. Mm-hmm. A really good design is essentially form and function. These backyards already are essentially rectangles. We call them like postage stamp backyards. Yep. Just because essentially they're 35 feet wide and they're about 35 feet maybe from the back of the house to the garage. So that makes that really easy. And then just creating the function of the space so that it functions well for that small space so that you're maximizing your real estate from that small property. Everything makes sense. And then the form is essentially the important part that just kind of makes you wind through the space, creates curiosity and things like that.
And I think also one of the more challenging parts of working on this historical neighborhood is just to keep the historical portion and enhance all these homes with beautiful landscape. And also, of course, we have new homes, modern. So we always are adjusting and adapting our trends and our landscape, plant material, hardscape material, everything to what is the market asking. But I think it's one of the most favorite part to us is just working with historical homes. And since we are a little more on the west now on 32nd and the Wheat Ridge side, we have been working with all the historical homes on this side of town, and we love to still driving by and see our projects thriving.
Yeah, I love that. So tell the listeners, do you have any news, specials, updates, anything currently happening?
We're going into winter, so essentially this is the time to start the design process so that we can have everything aligned and organized and scheduled so that when spring comes, we're not getting that first initial call and we're starting the design process. Essentially, when it becomes February, March, April, it's implementation time. And then planting typically starts April, May, as all of that plant material comes into the nurseries.
Perfect. So next, tell the listeners, like, you've been in this area a long time. You mentioned that. Tell us about anything you do to give back or get involved in your community, that kind of thing.
So essentially just having a really strong neighbor base, a strong community, having friends and neighbors that are close. There's job sites that are 4 streets over. I can jump on the bicycle. When I'm out walking the kids, we can simply walk by a job site. Maybe that's a job site that we installed 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you get to look at it and it's full blossom and it's full bloom. And you go, wow, that looks really good. These guys have done a really good job of maintaining their landscape in its full integrity so that it does benefit the neighborhood and just the overall look, you know.
And I think also it's nice when people is reaching out to us, is they are recognizing their neighbor's project in our website. Say, hey guys, I haven't seen that landscape for 4 years. Now I'm ready for you to do my landscape. Yeah. And this is one of the part that makes us more happier about this industry and this project is when neighbors are coming back and we see our sign and we drove by and say, this is my project, this is why we do it. And we still seeing our neighbors, and from all that people is moving up, the next person, we still designing the next home that they are moving, and normally it's all in the area. So this is what makes the Highlands like so proud to work there.
Well, I'm sure you're contributing to home values for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And when you do 4 or 5 houses on the street, you know, that's a pretty good reputation.
It does.
They get to see how clean we are, how on time we are, you know, and essentially everybody gets to see the before and the after with a lot of that.
And you are working with both of us. So this is like a combo of wife, husband from the beginning. During the on-site visit, you will meet with us. During the design process, you will still talking to us. So it's from the beginning until the end, and we give you the last recommendation to make your landscape thriving and successful. This is us, our in-house crew that build absolutely all our ideas, which is the most important part because everything is brainstorming in our heads.
And details.
And then our guys going to, and they make the magic, really.
Awesome. All right. So I know that you guys probably keep busy running a business and you have kids and all that, but what else are we doing for fun? What do you do outside of work?
So in the winter, it does slow down. So we do a lot of skiing, primarily. And then in the summertime, we do a lot of swimming pools, beach trips, things like that. So really just kind of as the season is, because we have such a influx, essentially February, March, April, when everybody's like, oh, I really got to get on this to get this started for the season. We're busy for those first 90 days. Yeah. And then essentially we've somewhat set the schedule to the point where we'll have, you know, a couple weeks off. And I say that lightly. And then we're back to the hammer come June, July, August. And then September is typically a little bit slower because it's like people just don't really know what to anticipate for the winter. They just want to get it cleaned up. But at the same time, they don't want to look at that same mess for the next 4 months, 5 months. So there's definitely like another influx at that time.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, that kind of wraps it up, guys. Tell the listeners all the best ways to reach you, your website, telephone number, socials, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So you can reach us to the landdesignsbycolton.com. We have in the portion in the top left, get a quote, get contact with us. So you can reach out through our phone numbers. You can follow us in Instagram just to catching it up with more projects and more the behind the scenes of every single project that we are doing. Yes, we are there. We are super easy to get in contact, and you're always going to be in contact with Jonathan and I anytime.
Yeah, and typically we like to run through the project with the Instagram. You know, you'll see it. You'll get the opportunity to follow a few projects, you know, over a couple of weeks. So then you really get familiar with kind of how our process goes.
Lovely. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Yeah,
Thank you
no
so
worries.
much,
Thank
Amber.
you, Amber.
And thanks to the listeners out there.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwestdenver.com. That's gnpwestdenver.com or call 720-295-9588.